to make sure that you're on the same page, no pun intended. On the back of your handout, if you turn to the very last page, I mean, your teachers, of course you would have tests, right? No, not a test. But what I would like for you to do in order for you to really get your mind positioned so that your heart can kind of hear these strategies that's going to help you infuse, energize, and transform how that particular kid that you're thinking of now, think of the kid, you don't have to put his or her name down, and you don't have to share your answers, but think of the child who's most inspiring for you saying, let me go check out this nurtured heart thing because I don't know if it'll work with him or her. On there you'll see some bulleted areas for you to complete. Don't think about creating 4 per answer. Just think of one answer. I'm going to give you like 3 minutes. I don't want you to overthink it because I'm sure that particular student, or maybe it's a child that you live with, is very well known to you as far as the behavior, that verbiage, whatever it is that he or she does that makes you go, really? So take a couple of minutes, complete the back of that sheet, and we're going to get started in 3 minutes. One minute. Okay, thank you. You have a visual, you have an experience, you have the energy that that particular student or youngster engages in that gives you that. If so, welcome to Nurtured Heart. If not yet, welcome to Nurtured Heart. Every single child, especially your students, deserves a champion. Not my words, the late Rita Pearson. She sat where you sat. She was an administrator. She was a motivator. She was someone who really understood the importance of doing your job, which is the hardest job in the world that you don't get enough money for, but she knew the best way to make a bad day a little bit better starts with relationships, connections. The connection that you have with that particular student and all your students is probably the strongest skill and the greatest piece about what makes you so courageous to show up every day and do this thing called education, being a teacher. So I say to you again, thank you. I had a phenomenal teacher. I retired in 2017. She was my second grade teacher, and I still remember her. She was my champion. Think for a minute. I'm sure you can think of that particular teacher. It's about connection. Why do I love this approach? One, it is human. Two, it forces you to look at what's working in your student. It starts you from a point of health and healthy. It's very strength-based. It's relational. It's about connection. It's about looking at who your student, remember, you put your name down in your mind or on the paper, who your student is and who they continue to be, especially when they're doing that fill in the blank that you put on the paper. So I absolutely love this approach. It's important as we set the table to learn about the methodologies and strategies and the core components of Nurtured Heart that we take a minute to say what it is not. Sometimes, whether when I was running residential programs or going into schools doing presentations to really talk about real kids who give you those real moments, the first thought is, yes, we need something because when there's a crisis, Nurtured Heart is not a strategy that you go to like a fire extinguisher. You don't just pull it out when it's a fire. It's not a management tool. We call it an upstream approach, and we're going to talk about specifically what that means in Nurtured Heart. But it clearly is not a crisis tool. If you, after learning the approach it as if it's a crisis tool, you may find yourself saying, I remember that lady, Miss Joyce, that thing didn't work. Wow, that's like picking up a hammer when you need a screwdriver. Of course it's not going to work. It's not a crisis. Intensity. Think about the youth on the paper. Think about the word intensity. And think about what comes to mind. When we think about intensity, we often think of it in a way that generates thoughts of pathology or difficulty and or challenge. All correct. But we're talking Nurtured Heart. So in Nurtured Heart, when you hear and see the reference to intensity, we're talking about a life force. We're talking about the fuel that is designed to help that student be who they are. Well, what does that mean? Think about a car, such as a Ferrari, and someone decided to put a Toyota engine in it. And you get in this Ferrari, about to open it up, and it doesn't take off in the same way because it has an engine that's not as light fuel. Kids with intensity, and oftentimes if you have a student, and intensity could mean disruption. Intensity could mean verbally abusive. Intensity could mean They're just always oppositional. Intensity, by definition, means that kid who's doing that thing that makes you go, really? But our intense kids, they need the intensity in order to be. And we'll talk about what that is. It helps them to be able to get up and come to school. So Nurture Heart says, if we look at the intensity upside down, then what we will do is be able to use it to help that kid be a Ferrari in a way that is not disruptive, not disrespectful, not unhealthy, and help that kid start to grow and flourish. What does that mean? Well, it means that we can do behavior management programs. How many of you are familiar with any system in place where if a kid does okay, they get a star, they get any type of behavior system? Anyone have used that? I don't, yeah. And those are great. And guess what? They work for some kids. But what we have found, and Dr. Glasser, who is the guru of Nurture Heart, when he was working with children who presented intensity, he found that those children did not respond to those modifications in the same way. And there was a reason for that. So the thinking is, how do we not have systems in place where kids obey, but they really experience a desire to shift and change, toes to head, I call it, inside, up, and out. It's about transformation. So that's the other component to Nurture Heart. Who is it? Tell me, talk back. This is a presentation that's about connection. So when you think about influences and powerful voices, who would you say is the most powerful, influencing voice for you? Shout it out. Parents. Yourself. I saw Mom. Yes. Right? Still, no matter how old you are. Other voices that are still influencing. Very powerful. Who?
Friends.
Friends. Absolutely. And especially working with young people, they'll tell you that, right? The most influencing, powerful voice is our own. So, what does that mean? What does that have to do with transformation? What does that have to do with Nurture Heart? Well, whatever that tape recorder is, I bring that with me when I come into your class. I don't leave it at the door. It's influencing and impacting me. And it's the only voice that I have, right? So, how does one take that into consideration when working with students? Now I need your help. Unless you have real social anxiety, raise your hand. I'm gonna need you. audience hear what you have to say. Come across this way. Right. Start A, B, did one. Start A here, did B, after A. Who's B? B next. C, next B. C, who's C? That's a C. C, D. Who's D? Where's D? I'm D. You're at the end. Is it one of them? No, right there.
Oh, at the other. Here.
Okay. Let's walk through how the shaping of those voices that become the most powerful influence my own get started. Will you introduce yourself?
My name is Jordan. My name is Jordan. I'm 12 years old. My mom could not take care of me, so I was sent to a foster home. It's an okay place, but I must share my room with another kid. We get along all right. The foster parents are mostly good to me, but sometimes they have an attitude with the other kids that live here. It always seems that just when I get used to it, I must move to a new home. I don't like that because I don't get to know if the new family will be okay or if they'll mistreat me. Each time I go to a new home, I must change schools because they said I was out of district. It's okay, I guess, but I liked my old school better. The foster parents I'm with now try to help me stay positive, but it doesn't help much. If things don't change soon, I think I just might go off and go on my own. I have friends in Philadelphia, but I tell my worker how I feel. Sometimes she listens, but says I must obey the foster parents' rules even if I don't like the rules. It sucks.
Jordan, I cannot read your handwriting. This is poorly written and the stains on the page are unacceptable. You're going to have to rewrite this.
I'm sorry, Jordan, but this is still not acceptable. You need to make this neat and organized and have it match up with the assignment before I'll even grade it.
Jordan, please don't annoy the other students in your group. That is not okay, and you should know that by now. I want you to pay attention to the directions and stay focused on each step without bothering anyone.
Jordan, you have a detention today for being late, and I want you to work on your assignment and your handwriting. And please stay away from Elizabeth. She doesn't need your advice. She must solve her problems herself. The way things are going, you will not be ready for middle school next year.
Okay, freeze. Jordan, how does it feel right now to be you?
Crappy.
How come?
Everyone said things I'm doing wrong and bad. It feels terrible.
And for the voices, how did it feel?
Not me.
Not you. Can you say more? What part? What part did it feel not you?
Well, personally, I do not like to say negative things. I always start with a positive thing and then see what we need to work on.
What about you?
I think it was maybe too harsh and it wasn't very specific with what to do to correct the mistake. It was just I can't look at it.
Was it honest?
I don't know. I have no context of it.
What about you?
I used words in this scenario that I never use in teaching, like bother and annoy, because I just think it really hits home, and those are probably words that they hear from their classmates, that they don't need to hear from a teacher.
And you?
I was just surprised that they had a detention for handwriting. It was just, honestly, that's...
You gave me detention.
I know, but I thought that was crazy to me. It's one thing to be but they were just for handwriting. It just seemed like a lot.
So maybe the teacher was having a moment. Yeah. No. audience, if I were to go up and down the row, generally individuals have some type of energy response or emotional response to just listening to not only what is said to Jordan at the start of her school day, but as a backdrop, she told you her story, right? She told you the voice that she was bringing in with her. So let's see how another way we can have the backdrop, meaning we know the student, and see how her school day starts this time.
Good morning, Jordan. It's great to see your joyful smile. You look so excited to see your friends and to be here in our class. I see you have a new backpack. It looks great. And thank you for handing in your assignments on time. Your cooperation is wonderful, is a wonderful quality of your greatness.
Jordan, that was a remarkably well thought out assignment. I appreciate that you clearly trusted your intuition and allowed yourself to give deep answers to the questions. Even though it's a little hard to read your handwriting, I really love the essence of what you had in mind. Would it be okay if I called your case manager and told her the great news? Jordan, I see you not annoying the other students in your group. I appreciate you for being such a team player and for leading the way with your inspiring teamwork. This reveals your excellent leadership and motivational skills. I so appreciate the greatness in you.
Jordan, you have such a loving heart. I saw how you just encouraged Elizabeth when she was struggling with the hurtful things those kids were saying. And stepping in to tell them to leave her alone was courageous. You are a gift to this classroom.
Jordan, how are you feeling today?
A lot better.
How come?
Because people are pointing out like things I did well, and like qualities that I have, and like made me feel like that they wanted me here.
So it gave you a sense of connection and belonging. Okay. And what about the teachers who had other ways of saying hello to Jordan? And really, you held her accountable for the things she needed to work on. What was that like?
It was nice to be able to speak to the student on a personal level, noticing the backpack in my case, and noticing other things about her to get on a personal level.
Yeah, same thing. She like told me that thing. Yeah, I just think it's good that the kids probably had better self-esteem. Like that's the main thing. She wanted them to feel good about themselves. And, not feel so terrible. Yeah.
Just giving an example of how she was helping another student in difficult situations. Making that happen.
And if you really listen to the approach and the energy, Jordan was still held accountable for the areas that she needed to do better or differently, but the energy and the level of connection was not thrown out with that. And it made a difference, especially because we have a connection, meaning we know who the student is. Thank you. Thank you. You may have a seat. One piece that is an important additional takeaway, this approach is not designed to make any of us feel inadequate or somehow, wow, that was me and I said that to that kid on the paper. Because the truth be told, when you went to train to become educators, wait, let me do a disclaimer. Raise your hand if your training involved 2 tracks. No matter what your course of study, you were told if you want to provide teaching to students who are free of any type of emotional challenges, or you're only going to teach kids who are 100% of the time mentally healthy. Raise your hand if that was your training. Exactly. So the survey that went into helping bring efficacy to this approach was that, one of the many surveys, teachers were surveyed, and they said, listen, we were trained, their word, not mine, to teach normal kids. You're talking about these intense kids. You're talking about kids who, I don't know how come they don't even have an IEP or 504 or something, or out of district. This wasn't part of what I signed up for. I am a math teacher. I'm an English teacher. I'm a creative arts person. That's what I do, and you give me a kid who wants to learn, and guess what? I will be able to teach him or her. But yet, 1% of the training did not prepare you for what sometimes on those moments that feel like the whole day, for the kid that consumes your whole school day, right? So again, no judgment, no heat, no blame. I call this a gear shift, nurtured heart. You have to say, let me shift my mind here to see what's working. Let me shift to see what's, forget that part. You are teachers, so I had to bring you. Okay, we did something, for English, so now we're going to do math. Just a couple. Let's see. This is why I have a challenge with the chord mic. Down. You can even do this in pairs. In 2 seconds, I want you to tell me the very first thing you see. First thing you see. Since you're over the back, I'm going to out. First thing you see. Very, very first thing you see. God bless you. Okay. If I gave you one of these, hold it up so I can see. Just stand where you are, please. Thank you. What is the very first thing you see? Okay. What's the error? What's the mistake? Thank you. Have a seat. What's the very first thing you see? Okay. Okay. Have a seat. Thank you for that. Good eyes. What's it? All the way to pink.
Me?
Yes.
Formatting 9 times 1, the 9 needs to be shifted over so it aligns well with the other.
Love your land. Thank you for that. How about over here? What's the very first thing you see? It's what? Well, math was not my best subject, but thank you. Have a seat. What's the first thing you see? Thank you for that. Very first thing. Last man standing.
I'm not looking at it. I just looked down at it and I was like, it's a 9-time table. And then afterwards, I noticed the first was wrong.
But the first thing you saw was what?
I was looking straight down the page and I said, oh, it's a 9-time table.
Thank you. Have a seat. Yes. But that's your lens. I like it. And you? You're happy. Love your lens. Okay. Give yourselves a hand clap because guess what? Your lens is spot on. That is exactly 100% how we're wired as humans. What's wrong? I can tell you. What needs to be fixed? I can tell you. It is not uncommon, unusual, or impossible, but often it's not our first go-to with our students to see what's not working and to really put a lot into that piece. So this trained our mind to see everything that's good, or what is working, what is healthy. Remember Jordan. She maybe had some problems with penmanship, but she handed in the assignment, right? She may be a busybody with her friend Elizabeth. Maybe she has some social awkwardness and she's trying to connect. She just hasn't learned the skills. But it's a gear shift. It's a matter of shifting our thinking. When we make a commitment to shift how we see our student, what we're doing, remember the inner voice, we're shifting what we see. We're helping to build what in Nurture Heart we call inner wealth. Who is the kid inside that fill in the blank? Disruption, cursing me out behaviors. We have found kids who show that intensity, they're very strong kids. They've had to, did you hear Jordan's story? Can you imagine if Jordan were not strong inside and she's had to go from foster home to foster home where some of her care may have been abusive, and teacher to teacher and school to school where maybe she's been subject to bullying and picked on because she doesn't have a quote-unquote real family. She has to be strong inside. And the way you may see her strength may be that behavior that you put on that paper. Right? But we want to take that intensity. Remember, that is the fuel that gives this student especially this sense that I am okay. I will be okay. It's the only thing, because I know that I'm really a messed up person. I know that, people don't like me. So I have to do what I have to do on my own. Remember Jordan. Building inner wealth is a big component to the next step when we shift how we think. Whenever you go for an interview, and I'm not suggesting anybody quit your job, we always have, if you ever work with a coach, they'll say, okay, remember you have 2 minutes or less to sell yourself. Think of it as being on an elevator. In Nurture Heart, our elevator speech is this. Our goal is to reach inside you, unlock your greatness. Greatness, by the way, means your best character, your best virtue, the best part of who you are. Pull it out, reflect it back in ways you cannot defend against it. Because once a student can see that we see it and they can seize it, they then become it. Something like this. I have to put it right there. This is behavior. How can I not focus on this when it's a math time? It's an exam time. What are you doing? Why are you ready? Why are you ready to score? Up. In Nurture Heart, we say, yes, the intensity is there. The disruption is there. But something's in here. Hold it. Something's in there. Keep pulling this. You gotta go deep. They make us work. It's not easy. We have to search. We pull, search. And one more. Dig deep, deep. Gotta go deep. Deep, 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 deep. Stand. And if you're brave enough to reach in, pull it out. You just stand for it. This is what we're hearing. What else is in there? Let's start with this side, all the way in the back. What's in there? Adventure? Yes, an adventurous kid. What else is in there? Resilience is deep down in there, right? What else is in there? Flexibility.
And calmness.
Calmness. And you had the courage to pull out more. I like that. What is in there? Empathy. In the back? Warmth. Yes. So we see not that you will ignore the behavior, because after all, other kids have to take this test. But my energy and my focus is going to look for how can I create this moment to let you see that I see who else is in there. And that's a part of inner wealth building. asked you if you thought about an artist who had a portfolio, what's a portfolio? What do we usually see? When you think about an artist, what type of work would I see in a portfolio? I know they do everything online now, but back in the day they used to carry them around. Huh? Their best work. Yes. And every single child has a portfolio. Think about the child who wrote on the paper. That portfolio for Nurtured Heart is who the child thinks he or she is. In a well, tape recorder, right? And the portfolio experience is designed to help us help that child. We can't take Jordan's experience that went into creating her portfolio and erase it. And say, Jordan, those things never happened to you. Well, we could, but then we're creating another psychiatric issue for her. We don't want to do that, right? Acknowledging the portfolio, and with my mind shift in gear, I'm looking for opportunities to not give energy to the shaking bag, but to pull out what still is there in order to help reframe and provide a companion to the portfolio as a way of adding to the buildup of this kid's inner well. Sometimes easier said than done, because if I ask you this question, when you think about an intense kid, as we're identifying him or her as a kid who shows less than desirable behaviors, what do you think is in their portfolio? Their best or their worst? What do you think? Just guess. How come? That's all they know. And guess what? It gives them some mileage, right? It verifies and validates that you see me. If I'm being a busybody with Elizabeth every day, and you're saying, Jordan, 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 that may be the only time someone is calling my name. So I am going to keep bothering Elizabeth. That's my best work, because I have nothing else to parallel. This was an interesting study. It was done years ago through an entity at Rutgers University, and it was with different types of school settings. And the question pretty much was asking the teachers, you know, in the course of your day, what percentage of the time would you say you give positive, and I heard some of this, positive feedback or recognitions or comments to your students. So the teachers had, you know, their opinion about that. And so what they did was they polled the students. And out of 100 percentage, what percentage of the students do you think said, oh yes, my teacher always is positive? Any guesses? Someone said none? Someone said 0? Any other guesses? 10%. Yeah, who said that? Yeah, great! How did you know? You saw these people? You saw that survey. You're absolutely correct. 10% of the students were able to attest for that. Because when I'm really looking at, well, how do I go into Nurtured Heart? And Joyce, you're getting to those strategies? Absolutely. But we have to lay it out. We have to lay the foundation. It is hard to shift gears, but you do it frame by frame by frame, moment by moment, and paying attention to what is it that this student is doing in this moment that I can pull out, look at, seize that, show it to him or her. Be real. You cannot manufacture this stuff with your students. And so so that they can see that I can see them, right? It's a frame-by-frame moment. Because the way we talk to children, we add to that development of their inner voice. And what happens over time, it's no longer my voice, because now if you've said it to me enough that I'm annoying, I am incapable of writing correctly. I then become and believe, and so then I am, right? So the way we even energize children with our language is part of that shift. How do we build a portfolio? Well, remember, if we had a wand, we could take every child, even children who aren't yet showing maybe, and it doesn't even have to be a foster care situation. It could be kids going home to fighting parents, or parents who are divorcing, or parents under financial stress, and they're getting the drips from that, I call it. So we can't erase the portfolio, but it's about helping to create one that is just as energetically aligned as the one they have, confronting that child moment by moment so they can have firsthand experience of who they are. 3 stands. Doesn't that look too easy? No, yes, clear. That's nurture heart. What's a stand? If you take a stand, is it spaghetti or is it rock solid? Yes! So, the core methods to using Nurtured Heart, we only need these 3 because they're clear, and when you make a commitment to shifting your thinking and approach, the implementation over time becomes, wow, I didn't realize that would work. But be patient and forgiving, first of yourself and then of your students. Because if they're real good students, they're going to test you because they're not going to believe that you have shifted how you're connecting, how you're thinking, how you're energizing, how you're looking for what's working, even when they choose not to work. Because that's what kids do, especially kids who've been hurt, kids with intensity. And this is what they'll do. For anyone who, if you have like young kids, or if you've ever had a situation where you watched a child with a toy that has lots of bells, whistles, and lights, what do? The more the lights and the bells and the whistles, do they put the toy down or do they keep at it? Hello? Keep at it. That's right. It's animated. It's moving. It's jumping. It's whistling. That's you and me, especially with intense kids. Now, maybe my bell and whistle might be, Jordan, do I have to tell you again? Or maybe my bell and whistle might be a look. Or maybe, whatever it is, your student knows your bell, your whistle, and your light. And remember, for them, it's all about connection. So if that's how I'm going to be able to connect with you, I will. Push your whistle, ring your bell, turn on your light, right? Toys R Us. We are the greatest feature. Because when things are going wrong, remember, we were able to pick it up right away. So that's when the connection gets solidified for children who are struggling, your students who are struggling. They don't want boring. That means you may have left. That means they may not be safe. So they have to get it going. It's an upside down energetic thing. Stand 1. Absolutely no. Universal, clear, complete sentence. No, no, no. You get none of my energy because my energy is worth too much. No energy to with the bag. Nah, not today. Don't reward it, is what we say in Nurture Heart. Does that mean you're going to allow a student to engage in behavior that's unhealthy, hurtful, not safe, so disruptive and destructive that you cannot do your job? Absolutely not. But you need to have a mindset to look for the moment where even when that is going on, when can I wait to walk in and acknowledge the success? I know it feels like it, but no matter what that behavior is that you may have written on that paper, it doesn't last for 6 hours of your school day. Because if so, they would have been out of your class, I'm sure, right? And it's not about ignoring them, especially kids with intensity. Think about our scenario with Jordan. Jordan knows what it's like to be ignored. So if part of your strategy is, oh, okay, I think no energy means I just don't pay attention. Well, she will do whatever she needs to do to make sure you're paying attention. Like the video game. Yeah, but if we ignore it, you know, she'll just do it more and more and bigger and bigger. Well, what about a video game? What do we know? The rules are clear, predictable. And what happens if you don't make your level? Does the video game kind of reach out and kind of take the remote from the kid or take off their headset? Or does it go, try again? And does the kid, or if they're playing this game and they lose the level, do they say, I'm never playing that game again? Yes, no. What do they do? And again and again and again, until they figure out, I know the rules. And if I want to keep playing this game, if I want to stay in relationship, if I want to stay connected, if I want to see that this game knows that I am the best at getting this high level, that means I have to stay in the game. And the way to do that is, remember, I don't give negativity any energy if I think about the video game. The video game doesn't do it, so why should you? Again, no blame. It's a matter of shifting how we've been taught. No matter what our culture is, our gender, our upbringing, it's a human thing to be taught to look for what's not right. So it's really like a head shift. And that's where most of the work starts. How committed do I want to be to really seeing how this can work differently for this kid? Stand 2, yes. That's where you're going to give all of your energy. What does that mean? Well, in Nurture Heart, it means, okay, so what was working? Oh, well, Jordan, I see that you handed in this assignment. The handwriting you can work on, but guess what? That's where Jordan is getting all of my information, feedback, whatever you want to call it, that I see who you are, even when that other stuff isn't working. And that's what I'm paying attention to. Okay, but what if the kid is doing something and they have to get kicked out of the classroom? Well, guess what? Follow your rules. But guess what? When they come back, you're going to say to him or her, you know what? So glad you're back in. Now we can look, let me tell you what you missed. I'm so glad you're back in the classroom. I don't have to revisit, because I'm sure whatever the consequence is, and we'll talk about that in stand 3, that should have been implemented or will be. You want to create a connection and relationship where if that kid falls out of their greatness, meaning if they're not following what you know they're capable of, they are so connected with the classroom, with you, that they don't want to miss it. Because they're internalizing and creating a new portfolio to go next to their portfolio that says, remember, you're my champion. Even when I mess up, you're still the person who can say, yeah, but you can still do this and you get another chance. That's the kid you get when you put your energy into absolutely yes. It's relentless, it's real, it's firsthand. In your handout, you will be able to see how this gets operationalized under what we call recognitions. Time doesn't permit for us to go into that in detail, but we'll talk a little bit about that. Well, that sounds a lot like catch the kid being good. No, because if I was catching him being good, I would say, oh, good job. That's like, and nothing against McDonald's, but that's like if my body is craving something healthy and nutritious, I stop and get a cheeseburger and fries. It may fill me up for that minute, but it did nothing. It didn't really kind of feed me at my core. So no roots there, I call it. And under the recognitions of stand 2, I'm saying what I see, what I hear, what I think about it, what I think about who that tells me you are. I am giving very specific, identifiable, no matter who else saw it, would share the same feedback with you information. And because I'm doing it right when it happened, the connection is clear. The student goes, why are you paying attention to that all the time? If you just started doing it, I had that from kids, you know? And then they look to see how many more times are you going to pay attention. But I have more than one student in the classroom, Ms. Joyce. I know. Sometimes you can do it as a group. Because you know how kids, they like to hang and do what their friends do. So I love when I can use Nurture Card as a group strategy. Well, how do you do that? You can do it in so many creative ways. And if you really thought about it, I bet you're doing it now. And you're not even thinking about it. You're breathing. You didn't think about it. When you get to ensuring that the positive is not just experienced and heard by your student, but they're connecting it in a way that you can see next time they're not perfect, but they're trying differently and better, that helps them to see that they are capable of not just doing okay things, not being an okay student, but being a great student. Goes back to intention. A colleague tells the story of living on the West Coast, approaching, I believe it's the Bay Bridge, and every morning as part of the commute, approaching this bridge, and there's this particular toll taker, male, he's got this party going on. He's dancing, it doesn't matter whether it's backed up for 30 minutes or 2 hours or 1 minute, he just is always energized, dancing and having a good time. So this one particular day, he has the opportunity to stop next to that particular toll taker, and he just asked him, are you on something? Like, what's going on in there? And he said, no, I have the greatest job in the world. He said, great thing, yes. He said, I have my music, I get to meet all these interesting people, I get to, just have all of this time for myself. I love it. So the driver says, I look over to my right and I look to my left, and I don't see that from your coworkers. He said, oh, because they see where we work as a stand-up coffin. Intention, shift. How do I see things? That has nothing to do with the student. It starts with a gear shift, a mind think, right? How true is this? When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at also shift. I loved when we looked at the multiplication, and I had the one person say, B plus. Because there were more things right than that one computation that was wrong. And if I choose to start with, okay, now I know that this is not the right computation, but you know what? All these others are absolutely correct. If that's my start point with my student, especially the one that you wrote down on paper, that's going to really set in motion how that student experiences his or her connection with you. And when they feel connected, they don't think, they know they have a champion. Nurture Heart says that's where the payoff of stand 2 comes in. Because you're relentlessly putting a lot of yes into success for workable, healthy, helpful, identifiable academics, social engagements, how you see the student trying. It starts with us. Yeah, but you don't know, some of these kids, they come in and no matter what I try, they still seem like they have attitudes. Yes. But we, the teacher, is the director, producer, and editor. And you know that, especially when it doesn't feel like it, based on the energy you're flowing back. I want you to do a lens shift. Seems like, I know it's a little old-fashioned, I don't even know if we use these anymore, but I love this because it really drills down how stand 2 can operate. What qualities does it take for this youngster to sharpen his pencil? What skills, what qualities? Say again? Hand-eye coordination. Good hand-eye coordination. Excellent. What else? Thank you for that. Because who uses these things anymore? Yes. Patience. Any other observations? Skill or quality it would take for this youngster to sharpen that pencil that might break off in like 5 times. Any thoughts? Any other thoughts? Yes. Trust. Yes. Trust that the machine is working, and if with your permission, I'll elongate that a little bit and say, and trust that if I got in trouble, my teacher will give me another pencil, right? It seems so simplistic and so obvious, but it isn't, because in our natural wiring, who would pay attention? Sue, you're still over there? How long does it take you to sharpen that pencil? You need to get back in your seat and start your test. I can't understand what's going on over there. Are you fooling around? Sue, wow, I see you're using a lot of patience to sharpen your pencil, and you're being very, very careful, and I appreciate that. I don't want you to miss out on any time to finish your test. So finish up sharpening your pencil and sit down, because I know that you're going to do great today on your test. Recognitions are what we consider in Nurtured Heart the wind beneath our stand 2. It really helps stand 2 to stand with truthfulness. You cannot a quality, a character, a behavior that is not there. Remember, it starts with your relationship. Think about your own relationships. If you had someone you considered a real trusted, connected person in your life, and they only told you, don't tell me what, and they only told you all the time what you wanted to hear, never told you what you needed to hear, and then you would have to hear the truth from other people, what would that do to that connection? It would feel kind of tainted. Recognitions are designed to make sure they're time sensitive so we can be truthful. We need to be honest. And remember, we're talking to Jordan, who's used to people lying to you. Oh, no, you're not going to another foster home. I'm just taking you to get some ice cream. And the next thing Jordan knows, she ends up at another foster home. So if I'm saying to Jordan, oh, Jordan, I think you're the smartest person in the world, and there's no evidence of that, Jordan's going to, we have this word called triggered. She's going to get triggered to say, oh, this feels like going for the ice cream. I don't trust you, right? Remember, connection. So the evidence has to be powerful. It can't be disputed. Remember, our goal, portfolio, the portfolio with that intense kid is like, okay, I'll show you how bad I am. We want to say, I know that's what you think and you've experienced, but I want you to also see how good and great you are. Companion. So the recognitions have to be authentic. And these are some of the specifics that's in your handout. We went through this. What is happening here that we can give success to? When you look at, and I know it's just a picture, you don't have any, but that's okay, because sometimes it's like a moment, snap moment with a behavior a kid might be doing. But what can you applaud? What's going okay? What seems to be, oh, that's working. Anything? Or is it all, yes? She's standing up for herself. Is that? Yes, she's standing up for herself. Yes. Anything else? What? Yes. What is the evidence?
He's not being fed this way. This is probably not fed.
Yeah. I see that, when Jane was talking to you, you stayed open to hearing what she said, and I know that because you were looking at her and you were open. Evidence, clear, right? You have to think about initiating nurtured heart by first building the foundation. And we've talked about that. It's about being aware of the place and purpose of connection, because it's all relationship, but it's relationship that's built on seeing who the student is, even when the other behaviors are going on, being able to look inside, pull it up, show it to the student, specifically say what it is, and then when they test you by doing the behavior, to say no to the energy. I don't have to respond to this, verbally, physically, or other, but I will wait until it stops. That's when I jump in and say, thank you for lowering your voice. Now I can hear you so much better. Right? Then and only then can your rules and your limits and your consequences have successful implementation. And remember, you've gone over the rules and the consequences and what happens when you do and when you don't in the beginning, middle, and not in the middle of the moment, because that's part of relationship building. And safety for kids means I know there's a fence, which are limits. So it's not about not setting limits with kids, especially in school, because you have other students. You have other faculty. You have to have rules. Like a basketball game, if they foul out, you know, the referee doesn't go, listen, I'm so sorry, but no. You're out of the game for however many minutes or whatever. No energy. The same thing. When I've already set the template and I've connected, built the relationship, I haven't given a lot of energy every time you show me your portfolio that has your worst self in it, but I look for opportunities to let you see that I see success. When that's been more the rhythm, now when you do this other stuff, I can say, well, you know what happens when you choose not to bring in your homework, right? They can tell you. Okay, great. And tomorrow I look forward to getting it. Okay, let's go on to the other lesson. I don't have to lecture, lurk, and I don't have to do any of that. Because remember, that student wants to be able to stay connected, right? They want to get back on that video game and see how they can figure it out. Setting the limit sets the stage. But you can't set any limits that you are not ready, able to enforce. And that's the start point of your connection with the kid, especially an intense kid. If you start your connection with an intense kid, let me tell you everything that happens in this classroom if and when you don't do da-da-da-da-da-da. And I have Jordan. This is her 17th school right now. She's like, oh boy, I know what kind of party this is, so I better be the one to get it started so I can get out of here. In Nurtured Heart, we see timeouts as counterintuitive because it's about time and connection. We think timeouts don't work because they're the upside down of what Nurtured Heart does. It takes you away. It focuses on all the reasons why you need to be set apart versus putting the success and energy into what is it about keeping you here that excites the classroom, that excites me. Make sure your rules are clear. Sometimes teachers will post them. They'll have the kids kind of post them. They know about rules. Remember the video game. Don't give them warnings. Especially if they're intense. You say, you have until 5. They'll go 5. Now what are you going to do? Just implement the consequence. Remember, you have a connection. You've energized and let them know that you see what's deep down in there, especially when they're trying not to show you who they are. And you do that by reset. Unplug. It could be a pause if it's for me. It could be teaching the student, okay, you can come up with a different word. You know, when you find yourself kind of getting heated, do you need to kind of put your head down? Do you need to get a drink of water? It's okay. Because everything sometimes has to disconnect in order to reconnect. Because if you think about it, if a kid is escalating and you say, calm down right now, think about the last time you were in a car, someone cut you off, and at that moment, and someone said, could you just calm down right now? Is that going to get you calm or get you heated? Who wants to be told to calm down when you're having a feeling? So resets are designed to help us kind of pause and unplug. Self-regulate is what we'll teach students when we're teaching them this and ourselves. Sometimes kids need to reset for a minute. Sometimes kids need to reset for 30 minutes. The point is to celebrate the welcome back. And the restoration is there. Including if now there are consequences. Don't throw away your consequences. It keeps the connection real, and it tells the kid they're safe in your class. Some schools, when we talk about this Nurtured Heart, they say, oh, is that like mindfulness and relaxation and yoga? Well, yeah, some schools are doing all that because it's all about helping kids know that they have what's inside them to kind of bring down the temperature. And and they internalize that. A reset isn't, you better take a reset now. It's not punitive. Remember, the energy is aligned so that the portfolio buildup is giving that kid another look at who they are as well. Focus on the success. In order for your student to really reset, we as adults, teachers, we need to really reset. And I think for me, I get the most practice of this outside of my professional life, and it does work. Almost everything will work again if you unplug it for a few minutes. It doesn't have to be eternal to be effective. It's about transformation, Nurture Heart is. You don't have to wait for anything to be gained because I break a rule. I know the gain is me staying connected in that classroom. And the payoff is because you're letting me know very specifically what it is that I'm doing and who that you see, and I am worth seeing. Build the foundation first. Stand 1, no energy to negativity. Stand 2, yes to success by creating time-ins that are powerful. And then your stand 3 helps you because your limit setting is effective. Howard Glasser says, children do not awaken by the fear of punishment, they awaken to their greatness. That is a true statement. Because it takes a very special person to light that fire, to raise or teach children's expectations for themselves and never ever give up on them, no matter how challenging it might be in the moment. And yes, it will be challenging. And when you have those moments, if you remember nothing else, I want you to remember it's okay to struggle well, as long as you stay in the struggle, to reconnect and or connect with that youngster by not giving energy to negativity. Because all of us are here because at some point, somebody did that for us. And you are your student's special person. Remember that as well. Thank you.
So, thanks so much. I know it's probably time for everyone to start a long weekend and hopefully find some time to recharge and reset themselves for kind of coming back from the work that you guys are doing. We want to say thank you again to Joyce for making herself available. The presentation has been recorded, so you'll be able to revisit it. And I believe the idea is to pass it out and disseminate it to staff who weren't able to be here. I've been Nurture Heart exposed for my 7 years with ESS, and it's something that I'm comfortable letting you know that it does work. But it works when you work it, and it does take energy and effort to kind of reframe yourself. But it can be a mindset that you can use to interact with students throughout your day, whether it's casual interactions in the hallway to every interaction in the classroom. So just to commit to it and to be open-minded about it. There is a green presentation feedback form. I'm just going to ask that we maybe pass it out. I'll have Laura from HBW and Laurel